Thank you very much, Mr. Saritella. I hope you enjoyed that presentation and learned a lot. The prospect of a national level support project in the Philippines on Earth observation in 2021 is really very exciting. I'm sure that the enthusiasm is shared by everyone here this afternoon. And now, before we proceed with our next presentation, the floor is now open for a brief Q&A. So I hope you were busy noting down your questions. The questions will be all about the Copernicus program that Mr. Saritella has just shared with everyone. So you may type in your questions via the Zoom chat box. Please don't forget to include your name and your organization before your question. Please note also that not all questions may be entertained because of the time allotted that was given for us. But before that, for those of you who have questions about Assistant Secretary Paula's presentation earlier, you may send them to Media Sense. They are our organizers for this event. Or you can also have the option of sending them directly to the Office of the Assistant Secretary. All right, so here is the first question, and it is addressed to, of course, the presentation of Mr. Saritella. Sir Giovanni, do you think that reports about the environment and green initiatives in the Philippines are sufficient? If yes, and if not, what can be done about it?
If reports on environment, did I understand?
Yes, about the environment and green initiatives in the Philippines.
I think the Philippines is actually very environment conscious. I think is very clear from the commitment of your president and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources that they take environment very seriously. We saw it in the response to the Boracay cleanup. The problem is very widespread, very complicated, very difficult to address. It's not only the Philippines. This is a global problem.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I totally agree with you. There are a lot of initiatives right now. And what's good about this is a lot of young people are getting involved also. And I think it's because of social media. There are so many platforms now that they can use to spread awareness on how to be able to instill change and mitigate the effects of climate change. And, so many environmental projects are out there, and we just need to spread it more and gain more awareness, especially from the youth. All right, there's one more question, sir. Are there other EU initiatives targeted towards the Philippine youth in mitigating climate change?
That's a good question. I mean, we have tried with our colleagues at the delegation to address youth and also children.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing that. Now, here's a question from Ms. Claire Ting of Vera Files. She says that earlier in your presentation, you mentioned that the Copernicus program can monitor and see new viruses, which could, my screen moved. All right. Which could prevent future pandemics. Now, how is this done, and how can it prevent another virus like COVID-19 from happening? Also, how did it help in monitoring COVID-19 cases?
This is a difficult question to answer. Environmental factors, for example. I will stop here because the topic is very complex and very complicated. But definitely, it can help a little bit. It's not the answer to the problem, but it helps. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for answering those questions. I think we have time for two more, so I'm going to read one of them. How can we address marine litter through this Copernicus program? Next question from Ms. Grace Sapuay.
So there are a number of ways in which we can use that technology.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us detailed and specific answers. I'm sorry to see that we have to pause our Q&A for now, but please be assured that we will be compiling all questions that we will not be able to answer here in our live webinar. All right. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Giovanni Saritella. It's so good to see you once again. All right, friends, let's now move on to State of Play Green Recovery. Our next speaker is the head of operations of GA Circular, an environmental economic research company. He's responsible for overseeing operational excellence and client servicing, working with internal stakeholders and partners to ensure successful project delivery. Here to discuss safeguarding the plastic recycling value chain, insights from COVID-19 impact in South and Southeast Asia, friends, please welcome Mr. Tam Nguyen. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Manny Mogato. What a wonderful pleasure to have you here at our webinar. I would like to bring back Ms. Imelda Abano once again as we open up our last batch of Q&A. All right, I'm going to read the first question that came in our chat box. This is from Sofia Liaguno of St. Paul University, Manila. She says that a specific grocery store in Thailand, Rimping, started making their food packaging from banana leaf wrappers last year, 2019. Now, she asks that if plastic waste is one of the most pressing environmental issues today, is it possible that we can live in a world without the use of plastic and gradually turn to other plastic alternatives, like perhaps banana leaf wrappers, which can be more sustainable?
I'm not sure if that's directed to a journalist or a plastic advocate, no? Because our role is just to write solutions-oriented stories on not just on plastics but on every environmental issues. But of course, yes, there are alternative ways on how we can do away with plastics. Yes, some of them are using banana leaves in wrapping their food or the vegetables that they sell. Yeah, I think there are alternatives. But if you ask me on if we want to write more stories on use of alternative to plastic, journalists should write more. Student journalists should write more on that.
Yes, thank you. I think that is also what you would like to find out, because in the absence of other alternatives, then we are very dependent on plastics.
Yeah.
So can we eventually do away with it? But for sure, we will be needing an alternative for that. So thank you for that suggestion, Ms. Imelda. Mr. Wright?
Because not all plastic are non-renewable. Because right now, the new researches by the plastic industry, they have found a way to manufacture recyclable plastic materials. So there is actually a way to use also plastic materials, but for the Philippines, I think we should do away the single plastic use.
Mm-hmm.
The one that are used by shampoos and other consumer products, because these are not recyclable.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Here's one last question. Our next speaker is already on standby. What needs to be done to shepherd Filipinos back to acquiring information on print and TV than on FB and other social media platforms where fake news abound?
I think that's for Manny.
Yeah. The thing is, the journalist should always remember to remain faithful